Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Hello everybody. As the title indicates, I'm going to be making a steamed molasses raisin pudding, which is going to have a homemade butterscotch sauce served with it, hopefully, at the end of the video here somewhere. I've got the ingredients laid out first for the raisin pudding. It is a half cup of molasses, a half cup of butter, one large egg. I'm using 2 small eggs. My large girls seem to have gone on a winter vacation. I'm just getting bantam size eggs, so I'm using 2. A teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, a cup and a half of flour, and then in this little dish here I have a teaspoon and a half of baking powder, a half teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then there's a half cup of milk and a cup and a half of raisins it called for. I'm using a cup of raisins and a half cup of mixed peel fruit, like you'd put in a fruit cake, just because it's around Christmas time and I thought that would be nice. But the recipe also says that this would be good done with, if you wanted to do it with just any kind of dried fruit that you happen to like, or cranberries or currants, or whatever kind of sort of dried fruit that you prefer. So let's get started and mix this together. Okay, the first thing to do is to cream the molasses and the butter together. I don't think I've said already, these recipes are both from favorite recipes of Newfoundland. But anywhere here in Atlantic Canada, molasses is a favorite old-time ingredient, used on pancakes instead of pancake syrup or maple syrup or anything like that. I was going to brag that I sprayed this cup with food spray there, the oil in a spray can, because it makes the molasses come out easier. Well, it is to a certain extent, I guess, but I think it's a little cooler here than I thought it was. Anyway, I get to taste the molasses. I know one of my father's favorite things when I was growing up with molasses was a nice big thick slice of homemade bread, molasses in a cup of tea. He considered that to be quite a treat. I don't know if molasses is used as much now as it used to be or not. Molasses cookies, I know, are still very popular. A thing that we call Johnny cake. It's a molasses cake, sort of like a gingerbread cake. And of course molasses is used, or at least it is used here, in baked beans. I guess I had the butter soft enough. That seems to have creamed together nicely. Now we'll add the eggs, 1 large or 2 bantams, whatever you happen to have, I guess. Get the cup off. I never seem to measure vanilla. I like vanilla, so if it's got a little splash too much, it's quite alright. I haven't made a steamed pudding in quite a while. I really like them. I have several recipes that I have enjoyed over the years. Okay. Noise enough. I have sifted together the dry ingredients, the seasonings and the leavening agents and the flour. And you alternate now, mixing them in, stirring them in, folding them in, whatever, with the milk. So 1 addition of the dry and then some of the milk. One of the things, a steamed pudding is, well, like if you're steaming your Christmas pudding or whatever, it puts a lot of nice fragrance into the house. It already smells good. And the last of the milk. That's probably mixed pretty well. And of course, the most important ingredient, or the last ingredient here, is all the fruit. Make it a little colorful, sort of looking Christmassy. Half a cup of the mixed fruit and a cup of raisins. And that just gets combined. And to evenly distribute them. I'll bring you back in just a second and we put this in a bowl and get it in the steamer. Well, the recipe stipulates that you need at least a 7-cup bowl or steamer or proper pudding basin, whatever you got, because this is going to grow. I didn't measure, but I think this bowl that I'm using is at least 7 cups, maybe more. I don't think it'll overflow anyway. And you butter and flour the bowl, both. So that I have done already. Oh good, I get to lick my finger. I'll just spread it out a bit. I'll level it off. Now, it has to be covered. In a pudding basin, you would tie a cheesecloth or whatever around. Suggestions for this is to cover it first with plastic wrap. Just loosely covered with plastic wrap. The reason for that being, on top of the plastic wrap is going to go aluminum foil. You don't want anything aluminum to come in contact with your food. And there is the plastic wrap on. You don't want it to go, airtight or anything like that. You want some of the steam to get inside, but you don't want it to fill full of water. So we'll put it in the steamer and it steams for 2 hours. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. If that's looking a little foggy to you, I think my lens steamed up. I have a trivet in the bottom of this kettle that I'm going to do the steaming in. trivet that actually came out of my Instant Pot. If you don't have a trivet or something, a small plate upside down would work just as well. You just want to keep the bowl up off the bottom. You don't want it to be experiencing direct heat. I've sort of preheated some water here. Okay, I'll let that come to a boil and then I'll turn it down to just a simmer and leave it for 2 hours. So we'll see what that looks like in 2 hours' time. Well, while the pudding is steaming, we'll make the butterscotch sauce, which has very few ingredients. And I don't think I've said yet, but as usual, I'll put the link to these two recipes below the video here on YouTube. So it has a ½ cup of real dairy butter, it says, and salted butter, not unsalted. It should be salted butter. A cup of firmly packed brown sugar, and a cup of heavy cream, or whipping cream. The one I'm using is 35% butterfat. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. A pinch of salt can be added also, but since we're using salt butter, I don't think I'll add the pinch of salt. So let's get started and make the sauce. And the first thing to do is to melt the butter over medium heat so that it doesn't scorch. And it's going to take a few minutes for that to melt down, so I'll bring you back when it has. Well, the butter has melted and starting to sizzle. I don't want it to brown. So now you add the brown sugar. Combine the two until it starts to foam. I'll bring you back in a few minutes again once that has got back up to temperature. Well, I guess I would say that was starting to foam. You now add the heavy cream. And the 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And once this is thoroughly combined, you turn the heat down to a simmer and stir frequently for no longer than 7 minutes, it stipulates. So I have my timer around my neck. I'm going to time it for 7 minutes. I think that's pretty well combined. And turn the heat down to a simmer. Start my timer. Now this sauce will keep for several weeks in the refrigerator. There's more here than you would ever use on that small pudding. But it's also excellent on ice cream. So I would think a vanilla ice cream. You wouldn't want any other flavor, I don't think, to overpower it. But I can see where it would be excellent on ice cream. So I'll bring you back in 7 minutes' time. Well, it's almost had its 7 minutes. I'm about to shut the heat off. There is the 7-minute timer there. And now you want it to cool completely before you use it. So there's about an hour, exactly I guess, an hour and a half left in the steaming time for the pudding. So by the time the pudding is ready, this should have cooled down enough to use. I think perhaps it will thicken quite a bit as it cools, but still it's meant to be a sauce that you pour, so hopefully it won't go into a solid lump. I'll bring you back when the pudding is ready. Well, it had its 2 hours in the steamer, and then you shut off the heat and leave it there for another 10 minutes afterwards before you remove it. looking bad at all. I'm glad it's nice and flat on top. I was worried that it would be, you know, all rounded up and that's going to be the bottom. So now if I can figure out how to do this without burning myself. Oh, that is hot. I just heard something fall. Hopefully the whole cake. Or pudding, whatever. Yes. A little off center, but not bad at all. I guess I can't move it without breaking it. Well, maybe a bit. There. Well, I shall meet you in the dining room shortly and we'll give this a try. It smells delicious. I'll cut a slice of this while it's nice and hot and see what it's like. That was a message came in on my iPhone, in case you're wondering. I've been talking back and forth to my sister. And we'll put some of this sauce on. I'll get set down here and give that a try. Well, let's give this a try. Very moist. And the pudding itself is very flavorful. But I love that butterscotch sauce. I'll have to try that on some ice cream. Quite a bit left over. It's very soft and light. And if you like raisins, like I like raisins, it's very good. But as I already said, I guess you can use any kind of fruit that you might want to use in it. Angel is right there. I don't know if you can see her or not, but unfortunately she can't have a taste of this. My vet tells me that dogs are not supposed to have raisins. Of course she loves that sort of stuff, doesn't she? Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you give this a try. Very simple to make. Both the sauce and the pudding are quite easy to make. And they're very tasty. Thank you again for watching.